It's the 17th of June 2022. I'm Dana Durnford. I'm also known as the nuclear proctologist.org. And we tried to do a show last night. It was 42 minutes long, but there was huge problems for some reason. And today the video is only 28 minutes long. That was left, and I decided that I better put out another video that's not broken up. Hopefully this one works. You can call in at 709-589-4406. And you can also call anytime if you have questions and I might be able to help you. By all means, you can call that number. I wanted to put out a video because, again, the one we put out last night didn't work. Let me show you what I mean by that. As soon as I get this resolved. Always takes a few minutes. So this was last night's video, 42 minutes and 33 seconds. 42 minutes and 33 seconds. And today, you can see the video right here is 28 minutes long. So 14 minutes is missing from the video. Hi everybody. We got a poll today. Should the nuclear industry be saved from self-destruction? And remarkably, 2 people have voted yes. The right answer, of course, is no. But that's what I expect from the industry. They generally... So that 2%, or 2 people have voted, admit that the industry is self-destructive. That's what the yes vote means. It actually means confirmation that they admit the industry is self-destructive. One of the better polls, right? Because the only right answer is no, the industry is disgusting. It has no right to exist. Just like 2 Danas don't. And, IAEA is not, this is not an International Atomic Energy Agency. This is just a subsidy of a military-industrial complex known as United Nations. So in a free and normal conversation, you wouldn't expect a nuclear activist to be constantly spied upon. So imagine if the headlines would say pro-nuclear to be constantly spied upon. Now, the reason that they spy upon someone like me is because I'm going to tell you and show you documentation that you probably won't find anywhere else. That all nuclear power plants, not all, but the majority of them are surrounded by farms, which means that's radioactive food poisoning the population. Wherever the food is shipped to, those people will get sick from that and eventually die or have restrictive medical costs that will bankrupt them and their loved ones. And the industry is so crazy, even future nuclear power plants, this one in the United Kingdom, size we'll see, is surrounded by farms as far as you can see. That should terrify everybody on this planet. That should mortify, but it gets worse. They also grow food in Japan right alongside the radioactive waste. 14 prefectures were banned in 55 countries, not just Fukushima, because of radioactive food. Canada lifted all restrictions after 93 days. So we just passed the anniversary, the 11th anniversary of Canada lifting the restrictions on food from nuclear wasteland, all of Japan. So Japan couldn't ship the food anywhere else, so they shipped it all to Canada because Canada has been taken over by the nuclear industry. I hope the stream... Hi, Neil. and I seen Dana Nasana there and Thinker. So another thing you want to understand is you don't want to eat any food from Japan, period. And Japan last year succeeded in the United States removing all restrictions and the EU removing all restrictions. The radioactive fallout has covered the planet. This was done in just around 16 days in the French model. And this is just a 16-day model based upon a tiny fraction of what was actually released. It's a continuous plume covering the entire planet, the oceans, your drinking water, your countries, your communities. And the problem with that is that just, undetectable for the average person, inconceivable amount, small amount to the average person will harm you or animals or insects or birds or any of the 8 million species on this planet. There's many models of the radioactive fallout, and there's many, many documentation of that actual radioactive fallout. The models, if anything, have downplayed how much actually fallout out. And as you can see, all the models demonstrate clearly, and this one is 19 days, this part here, the entire planet is covered in brutal, massive radioactive fallout. So it's not just the ocean, which, by the way, was covered in just a couple of days, as the models I showed you clearly demonstrate, right? Because that's the Pacific, that's the Atlantic, for goodness sakes. There's a thing known as social engineering. And so social engineering really shouldn't exist in the capacity that it's being used to destroy the future of the species and humanity, and it was used effectively, unfortunately, against the entire population of the planet. And so this is an impromptu presentation because last night's show didn't work for some reason. I'm hoping that I reset all my equipment, and I'm hoping that maybe I'm the problem, not the industry, and therefore that I can resolve whatever the issues were, so then we can have normal streams 5 days a week if my health allows it. Remember, I got a kidney stone, and these things are unbelievably painful, inconceivably. So when they start to move, that's when you become debilitated with pain. I actually thought I was dying, and I'm sure anybody else who has a kidney stone will tell you the same thing. I had no idea that it was a kidney stone or could be a kidney stone. I knew I was in real I was in real distress. Turns out I'm in worse shape than I had anticipated. So I want you to think about these attributes of radiation, providing the video actually works. And everything looks good on my end, so I'm just going to keep going. 50 becquerels a kilogram in humans lead to irreversible lesions in the vital organs, which means that you're being poisoned on a scale that's probably beyond most people's comprehension, because Japan is shipping food at absurd numbers. All nuclear power plants, again, 90+% each of them are surrounded by farms. And if they're not, they're usually directly in a big city, poisoning the city directly. Radiation and health specialists, children with 11 becquerels a kilogram start to see heart problems. This is absurdness because it bioaccumulates in the body, so it's impossible to avoid it. So imagine at these considered low numbers how bad this is going to be on the species. Well, we've done the research expeditions, and we show this to be basically an extinction level event of Irreversible heart damage for children with 50 becquerels a kilogram. So again, you're starting to see 50 becquerels a kilogram in adults or any humans lead to irreversible lesions in the vital organs. So a much smaller amount will have those same attributes for animals and birds and insects, and the bases of the food chain, the bases of the oxygen chain, the bases of the carbon sequestering chain. So again, we've done research expeditions for many years, from Vancouver, British Columbia, all the way to Alaska. Year after year, doing research expeditions. Brutal research expeditions. Mind-numbingly, terrifyingly brutal expeditions all along the coastline, year after year. And what we discovered was all the species are missing. So we had to repeat this year after year. The species didn't come back, which meant they were exterminated. This was directly from Fukushima radioactive fallout. This is the Pacific Ocean I'm showing you. But these same attributes now we've seen in the Atlantic Ocean. So the best thing we could have done, and we did fortunately do it, was head to the Atlantic and do the research also on the Atlantic side of the continent. And so we went to one extreme of the continent to the very other extreme of the continent, and we see the same attributes where the species are being wiped out. So it's time to make a stand. It's 100% time to stand up and just demand that we come up with a solution for the future generations, because there will not be a future generation if you do not make a stand, if you do not come up with solutions, I should say. If you do not admit that you got a problem, you can't have a future for humans or species. And we're talking about an immediate future. This is Earth's last stand. We are the generation we are the do or die generation. Radiation is the global warming, not carbon. Gas, oil, and coal plants emissions don't pulse energy every second for millions of years. Gas, oil, and coal emissions generally don't travel very far. Radiation covers the entire planet in an invisible blanket, pulsing energy at the speed almost of light, almost 186,000 miles per second, pulsing energy every second, pure energy. You can't see it or smell it or touch it or hear it or feel it or pick it up or contain it. It's released into the environment. Coal, gas, and oil emissions don't have those attributes. In fact, coal, gas, and oil emissions don't travel very far, 50 to 100 kilometers. They're not capable of causing global warming. The only thing that causes global warming is radiation. It's been going on for 76 plus years. So all the nuclear bomb testing that they had done was actually the exact same as a nuclear war, the same bombs with the same radioactive fallout. And one of the Soviet Union's biggest bomb was equal to 3,800 Hiroshima bombs of radioactive fallout. So if Russia and America fires 1,900 Hiroshima and Nagasaki-sized bombs at each other, is that not a nuclear war? Therefore, the Soviet Union's biggest bomb was in a massive nuclear war, the radioactive fallout. If we didn't have any accidents after that, everybody still would have been polluted, and every species. The industry is aware of this, but the industry is greedy and self-centered, and it's childlike, not childish, but childlike. The industry is irresponsible, and generations of inbreeding have created a very dangerous atmosphere for the species. So when we've done the research expeditions, you can see to your left, all the species are now to the right. These are before and after authentic pictures exterminated. We have an amazing, unbelievable amount of people on our show today. Quite impressed. We got 9 viewers. That's amazing. We got 8 likes and 12 votes. So we're killing it today. We've been doing this for a decade. So if you work really, really, really hard for a decade, you too can get 8 people on your live shows. Just imagine the gratification I feel of being able to get that many people on my live shows. It's overwhelming how much joy that brings me. It's called censorship. It's revolting. And when I was on a research expeditions last year, 400 kilometers into the woods, they took down my YouTube channel with no strikes, no warning, no explanation, with 24,000 subscribers. And so this new site has almost 1,000 new subscribers, but I can only gather very few subscribers. I usually only get extra subscribers on Sundays. That's usually 2, 3, 4, 5 subscribers a week. And I'm not a bad person for being honest. Am I a bad person because I'm honest? Am I a bad person because I provide the documentation for every single one of my assertions? I like to see my detractors dig up the documentation to debunk my documentation, because you can't be done. Because I'm an honest person, therefore I'm a threat to the destructive and self-destructive industry, which is why we have that poll. Should the nuclear industry be saved from self-destruction? And somebody voted yes. A couple of people said yes, it should be saved. But why would you save? First of all, you're admitting that the industry is self-destructive. And why would you save an industry that has these attributes where they destroy all the species? Why are you so disconnected? Why are you so twisted and sadistic that you think saving an industry that wipes out all the species because you get a paycheck on Friday is beneficial? You're a coward. Only a coward would vote yes. Only a scum degenerate coward could conceive that voting yes. Last year again, this video was from last year.
Anyway,
we found 5 dead birds floating in the ocean.
Today. Meant to do that this morning.
Found 5 dead birds that day. The first bird we found, and we took lots of pictures and videos, and those presentations were on my site, but YouTube took 1,600 of my presentations down so you wouldn't understand the full range of the destruction. It's not an industry, this is a genocide machine. Half the head was a tumor, the other half was normal. We've done sailing expeditions by myself to Alaska 4 to 5 months a year, over and over and over, trying
big
to
wave
find...
now between me and coming down. We got the big sail up.
Again, I'm just trying to do the research. I'm not a bad person for doing research. My embedding is turned off after every video. That doesn't matter. Hang on. So you had Reactor 1 at Japan. They put a sarcophagus around it eventually. But it was 1 million sieverts. 5 sieverts, not 5 million, but 5, is a lethal dose. 10 to 20 is a lethal dose quite quickly. 100 sieverts is a lethal dose immediately. So do you really think nuclear scientists went to this site? You really think that nuclear academics went to that site? Do you think that the people that voted nuclear should be saved, voted yes, actually went to the site with this kind of doses? I can assure you they didn't. They used cranes. Now, they assembled this off-site. They brought it there, used homeless people and mostly cranes. This is all, these panels are swung in and they hang by gravity. This was a Kevlar sarcophagus they put around it. That was Unit 1. They faked Reactor 4. It actually looks like this, and they're pretending it looks like that. Why would all the media participate in a lie like that? What's the point of a lie like that? Because of the documentation I showed you from my research expeditions, is Fukushima is an extinction event. And some of your favorite anti-nuclear activists are trying to convince you it looks like that, not like this. When they were asked, Helen Kellicott, when she was asked, she said, no, the Japanese are very tidy people.
The Japanese are very tidy people, and they have, by robot control and by human beings, removed the debris from the top of Building 4, and it does look pristine.
But it doesn't. It doesn't exist. So how is the stream, folks? Is the stream on my end? It looks really good. I'm not getting no warnings. Hi, Neil. Hi, everybody. I'm just checking because we had so many problems with the stream last night. So looks like the stream is streaming really good. I'm super happy about that. Neil says it's okay. That's good to hear. Because last night we were getting a big warning there. Today it says my stream is higher. The current stream bit rate, which last night was so low it wouldn't stream, they're saying now it's higher than recommended, which is fine. So it looks like we resolved that issue. They faked Reactor 4. This is the back of the fake Reactor 4. You can see they done, even the roofs of the pump houses, they didn't clear the debris. And that radioactive debris you're seeing there is lethal doses. So they built this containment, and I'm sorry, let me back that up. They faked this containment. This is what's left of was left of the building, 190-foot building. They put this structure there. They put panels on it, and it looks like that. And then they claim the inside of it now looks like this when it doesn't even exist anymore. Helen Kellicott participated in that. So did Arnie Gunnarsson. Christopher Busby participated in that deception.
The division I ran built nuclear fuel racks for boiling water reactors exactly like Fukushima.
Now, it doesn't exist. I put him up where the pool is to. So the pools, let me explain that to you quickly. Those red depictions at the top are where they would have decades of reactor cores. You can see over there they actually don't exist. The building is destroyed all the way to the ground. The reactors are at the top of the building, so are the fuel pools. Arnie Gunnarsson made the racks for the assemblies for the pools, but he refuses to acknowledge that the pools are actually gone. As you can see here, there is nothing left. This was a 190-foot building. It wasn't just Arnie Gunnarsson. All the media participated in that deception. So why would all the media come out and pretend the building wasn't destroyed? You better start asking yourself that question. You have to appreciate, I can't force you to acknowledge the truth. I can provide you with the documentation that nobody else on the planet will provide you with. And you can make your own assertions, your own, hopefully, proper assertion that, no, Dana, it can't look like that because it looks like that. Is that so difficult? Is that really that hard to wrap your mind around? Do you really got to be a nuclear or scientist or an engineer to understand that that building is destroyed? Because if you do, you should leave mommy's computer alone before her boyfriend finds out and spanks you. This is the International Atomic Energy Agency pretending they're coming from a building that no longer exists. These are lethal doses. You simply can't do it. So if that building melted down, there would be a 250-kilometer no-go zone. Well, the building melted down. It doesn't exist. So they faked it to avoid evacuating everybody from Tokyo and everything in between. And they continue to grow food in the entire nuclear wasteland with a complete disregard. All of these markers are 14 prefectures that 55 countries banned the food from. Canada lifted all restrictions immediately. Radiation streaming into the atmosphere after number 4 boiled, so they decided to pretend it didn't. But I'm the bad person because I'm asking the question. Last year, they released 736 new pictures from a drone, which was bizarre. Now, when you zoomed in on the drone pictures, what you discovered was the reactors were pixelated. All the pictures, 736 pictures, that if they pointed at the reactors, they were pixelated. But it was worse than that. The pixelated right there is reactor 4, reactor 3. Behind reactor 4 up there is the common spent fuel pool. You can see it's pixelated. This had reactor cores from all 6 reactors. The only reason you would pixelate the common spent fuel pool is because you had a major event there and lost the inventories. There's no other reason to pixelate the common spent fuel pool. And for context, the containers you see up at the top of the screen are transport truck containers. It gives you comprehension of the size of this facility. Also, reactor 6 was pixelated. So was the pump house, and so was the exhaust stack where they emit huge amounts of radiation. They're claiming that they picked up, or they have 1,000 tanks, but they had 1,000 tanks in 2013, and they have 1,000 tanks in 2022. So how many tanks did you fill up in the last 9 years? They claim that there's only tritium in the water. This is a ludicrous assertion. The water is 2 sieverts per hour of just beta. So they're not counting the neutrons, the alphas, the gammas emitters. So a liter of water is around 5 to 10 sieverts, which means that if there was a liter anywhere within 20, 40 feet of me, I would be dead before I got this far into the show. If you fill up one of these tanks with this water, which is what they claim they done, then you couldn't build another tank because it's a lethal dose anywhere on the site. You can't walk around in paper suits at a nuclear meltdown and tanks surrounded. You could never get that close to the tanks in a paper suit. The site also went China syndrome. We have the evidence of that. I'm showing it to you right now. This video is around 40 times normal speed. The so-called fog you're seeing is steam coming out of the ground. The ground is cracked in 6 places because the 9,000 degree Fahrenheit temperature reactor core hit the water tables. Water by the liter expands around 1,200 feet per second per liter. That cracked the ground. The steam that's coming out of the ground maxed out at the stationary Geiger counters at 10 sieverts per hour. That's the max the Geiger counters could read. 10 sieverts an hour is a lethal dose. So they had to evacuate the site for many, many months. All I'm doing is providing the evidence, and if the evidence conflicts their story, that's not my fault. 2013, they had 1,000 tanks. So how can they be filling up tanks? By the way, a normal reactor would fill up 1,000 tanks 6 times a day. They use 1 million gallons a minute, 4,500 tons a minute. It's not just cesium, it's not just iodine emissions. There's over 1,000 kinds of gamma, alpha, neutron, and beta isotopes that you need to worry about. The biggest byproduct of radiated fuel, by the way, is curium isotopes. Curium, that's why they call it a curium when it melts. The curium isotopes, and you can see all the daughters, you need lead shielding 20 times thicker than you do for plutonium. So when they tell you about iodines and cesium is the biggest byproduct of the radiated fuel rods, that's simply not true. The biggest byproduct is the curium isotopes. And by the way, these isotopes cover the entire planet. The extinction event now is in full swing. This Sunday, we're going to do a extended presentation on the mass die-offs that have been happening for the last week on both sides of the Atlantic Ocean to the bird population. This model is 16 days of radiation fallout, and it's not based on the meltdowns that I showed you. So the model would be infinitely worse. Inconceivably worse. So you got iodine, all their daughters. You got many, many, many fission products you better worry about. The xenon, all their daughters. Krypton and their daughters. And the list just keeps going and going. Americium, neptunium, cesium. Strontium peaks it doesn't peak for the first 1,000 days. Then it's 100 times more strontium than it was at that stage, which was an absurd amount, by the way. And that will continue for tens of thousands of days. So it's not nuclear scientists, it's the homeless and the destitute and the victims of society and the immigrants who don't speak the language. And that everybody seems to pretend don't exist for some reason. But Dana's a bad person, not the mass murderers. Dana, the man who brings you the documentation, the guy who brings you the research, when I can afford to do it. It's not cheap to do the things I'm doing. Spent fuel rods at Fukushima were damaged before the disaster. There's so many facets to this story that people are not aware of that are important to the equation. That's the actual remains of Reactor 3, the mixed oxide fuel facility. There is no remains. This was a 190-foot building. But yet they're pretending that and this is the official picture, they're pretending they're inside the building getting fuel out of the pool last year for the anniversary of now the pools will be at the top of the buildings, from a building that don't even have a top left on it. This is how batshit lunatic the nuclear industry actually is. Again, I don't understand why I am the bad guy for being honest. I don't understand I'm the bad guy for doing all the work. I don't understand how I'm the bad guy for trying to help you or protect you particularly. How do I become the bad person? How did that happen? Because the industry is just gobbledyshly evil, and you can't exist in the industry unless you have those particular attributes. Unless you're a demonic, sadistic, twisted, soulless, spineless, heartless creep, you can't exist in the industry. And typically mass murderers, they don't understand that what they're doing is wrong. They're not able to comprehend the fact that they're actually evil. That's Reactor 3. Here's the official picture of it, pretending it's perfect. They're only doing that because the radioactive fallout is so deadly. There's David Suzuki. talking about Reactor 4.
So just to recap, when you look at the pictures,
I'm sorry,
all of
that's
number 4
me.
is missing and all of number 3 is missing. And so the fuel pools were up close to the top of the building. They're long gone. David, I think you had something you wanted to say.
That the fear is if there's another earthquake of a 7 or above, that building will go, and then all hell breaks loose. And the probability of a 7 or above earthquake in the next 3 years is over 95%. I have seen a paper which says that if, in fact, the 4th plant goes under an earthquake and those rods are exposed, it's bye-bye Japan, and everybody on the west coast of North America should evacuate.
Well, that's Reactor 4, it's gone. So everybody in North America should have evacuated because that's what happened to the radiation that came to North America. By the way, Reactor 3 is also gone too. This was the mixed oxide fuel facility. So the best way to think about radiation poisoning is how the U.S. government actually describes it on their website as 2 billion times more toxic than industrial poison. 2 billion times more toxic. So the mixed oxide fuel, you have to multiply it by 1 billion. Now these atoms, you can put 2 million atoms on the head of a needle, but you can't even see it. But if you distribute it out, each atom to 2 million insects and birds and animals and humans, you will eventually destroy them in increments over time because you compromise their immune system. I'm going to run you through some headlines that other people have created originally, trying to warn you of the danger that we're now facing. France says Japan has lost control. The French should leave the country. Not Fukushima Prefecture, but the country. Resulting destruction will take half of the planet Earth with it. Imagine your power plant breaks down and you have to run away and leave your businesses and communities and hospitals and universities and schools and your homes and your pets and your graveyards behind. Why would you have that on your planet? What could possibly motivate you to have something like that on the planet? Well, it's done through sedition, through misrepresentation, through deceit and dishonesty, not through a mature conversation. The Swiss embassy evacuates Tokyo 220 kilometers away because of Fukushima radioactive fallout. In the prefecture, the radiation levels where humans vomit uncontrollably. Yet the industry refuses to acknowledge anybody was even got a hair harmed on their body, despite the unbelievable amount of harm it did actually cause. Helicopters couldn't even dump water on the fuel pools, but the headlines were showing us and claiming that they were there fighting the nuclear meltdown, the AK Fukushima 50. Yet helicopters couldn't even get close to it. Korea calls Japan's handling of the nuclear meltdowns incompetent. The EU Energy Commissioner called Fukushima an apocalypse. Energy official says Tokyo lost all control. The International Atomic Energy Agency said everything is fine, despite all these countries trying to warn you. Despite the fact that this was a catastrophic event. China says Fukushima is a global threat and that the situation could prove catastrophic for the world because of radioactive fallout. This model of plutonium, named after the devil, covering the entire planet, modeled from TEPCO, which is not a decommissioned authority's documentation. Scientists, the slower you spread radiation dose, more effectively produces cancers and inherited defects. Japan is going the very best way in the world for destroying the human race. Former official in Japan is a disaster of all of humanity, the entire world. And as I showed you, the radioactive fallout doesn't respect the borders. The ambassador says this could one day be considered the start of the ultimate catastrophe of the world and the planet. The ultimate catastrophe of the world and the planet. This is a model of the Neptunium-239 dispersal, which decays into plutonium-239, by the way. Local officials, they found plutonium in every sample. So why would you grow food? It was over 1,800 places where they checked. They found plutonium in every sample. These are places where food was banned by 55 countries. Not just Fukushima, but half the country, because that's the big prefectures. Deteriorating plant threatens mass extinction around the world. Experts agree many species of wildlife and fisheries are endangered globally due to the large releases of radiation from Japan. I'm just trying to educate the population with documentation, not opinions, not conjectures, but actual documentation. You can pretend that this is not meaningful or is not pertinent, but that's all you're doing. You're just pretending. You need to gut up. You need to make a stand, and you need to get busy. We don't have time. We have run out of time. We have mass die-off of species worldwide because that's where the radiation went. Here was a study from Ottawa, Canada, of an absurd amount per liter of rainfall, and they're only acknowledging the iodine-129. There would have been almost the same amount of iodine-133, by the way. It would have been 10 times less iodine-132, 30 times less iodine-131 in that same sample. But 220 million atoms per liter, so the insects and animals and humans' thyroid glands are saturated with radiation, and then what that meant was it destroyed the reproduction abilities, but it also caused the iodine, this incredible amount, sustained, to sequester in the thyroid. The thyroid converts it into radioactive hormones. So normally you take natural iodine and convert it into hormones. Now it takes the radioactive iodine, the man-made anthropogenic radiation, and tries to convert it into a hormone which destroys the species and humanity in increments over a short period. And this is exactly what we're seeing. Michio Kaku, a famous physicist from the United States, human civilization may destroy itself. I mean, look at Fukushima. The Nobel Prize winner on Japan's major media, the only way to preserve human life is to completely turn away from despicable, disgusting, sadistic nuclear. Major U.S. media, time to quit nuclear power plants altogether. It threatens the very existence of human civilization. Legal expert, once a nuclear accident occurs, everything is over. Zero prospects of ever restoring the fishing grounds. All will be lost. This is the reality of nuclear energy. Leading director in Japan, nuclear power generation is the only invention that may destroy the future of humans. So I get attacked because people say Dana's claiming this and Dana's claiming that. I don't claim anything. I provide you with the documentation, which is infinitely more than anybody else in the industry has ever done. I should be doing a radio show, but I can't educate the population properly, so I work like a slave, day in, day out, all day, every day, for year after year after year with no relief in sight. Nobody to replace us because I've been censored off the planet for the most part. The UN Secretary General says it's no exaggeration to say the fate of Japan and the entire world depends on the number 4 reactor, which I showed you was completely destroyed. Japan professed for 1,000 years from now contaminated water from Fukushima may still be entering the Pacific Ocean. We may not be able to live in Japan someday. Think about that statement. If Canada has a reactor melts down, you may not be able to live in Canada someday. If America has a nuclear reactor meltdown, we may not be able to live in America someday. Why would you have something with those attributes in your country or on your planet? It was done through credible lies. They bombarded you with Spider-Man and the Hulk that were created to disarm you and your children in increments over their entire lives. Within 1 year of Fukushima nuclear meltdown, there was an extra 865,000 cancers. And cancer is typically latent. Cancer is just one of 1,800 illnesses or diseases or autoimmune deficiencies and injuries that will manifest. It's time to stand up. It's time to fight back. It's time to get educated. At least do that and try to protect yourself. Don't eat anything from Japan. Don't buy anything from Japan. They have turned their backs on the entire planet. It's time to turn your back on them. They're disgusting. The nuclear industry is despicable. They don't even have the attributes of a human, for goodness sakes. 6 in 10 Fukushima children tested have diabetes. Head of the Tokyo area medical clinic. We're expecting diabetes in children from Fukushima radiation. Inhaling radiation increases radiation exposure by a factor of 1 trillion. Because it's in your body, pulsing energy at the speed of light through all your organs, your chromosomes, your DNA every second for the rest of your life. Your body attacks it for the rest of your life with white blood cells non-stop, which displaces your red blood cells that carry oxygen and nutrition throughout your body, which also means you're compromising your immune system or the animals or birds or insects or creatures on our planet that we are supposed to be the arbiters of. We're supposed to be taking care of them. That's our job. They can't defend themselves from us. It's our job, and we have failed that miserably. The nuclear industry has no right to exist. The whole world should be gone to war against everybody in the nuclear industry. In a lucid society, that's what we would do immediately. We wouldn't even hesitate. In this society, we attack the bearer of the news, me. We censor Dana because Dana's being honest. How dare Dana be honest? You scumbag Dana. How dare you be honest? You disgusting bastard Dana. And just to show you how stupid the nuclear industry, they actually voted. 27% of the people admitted that the nuclear industry was self-destructive and that the nuclear industry should be saved from itself. 27% of the voters are so stupid they think they should keep this on our planet. That's only the nuclear industry could be that stupid. Literally, you have to be stupid to ignore everything I just showed you. Literally got to be brain dead and just a moron or a monster to ignore the documentation, the actual facts. You're literally an idiot to pretend that nuclear has some redeeming qualities. You're actually an idiot. If you watch the video all the way up to here and you don't get it, you are a waste of a human. You really are. You should get on top of a skyscraper and jump off it and do the world and your family a favor. You are a degenerate nobody. Congenital heart disease operations So 14.2% per 100,000 live births now have to have open heart surgery when they're born. Per 100,000. Per 100,000. 14,200 have to have open heart surgery. That's just one of the many manifestations. You can pretend I'm wrong, but that's all you're doing. You're pretending. And look at the censorship. 15 people on my show. 15 people. If I was wrapping shit on a stick, I'd have 30,000 here right now yucking it up. Providing you with actual documentation and an educational program. I'm censored down to 15 people. And a percentage of them hates my guts. And you can see that because 27% of 22 votes were stupid enough to vote that nuclear should be saved from its self-destruction. You literally got to be stupid to vote yes for nuclear. You literally got to be an idiot to vote yes that nuclear has some redeeming qualities. Yeah, Dana and Asana got it right. They should call in and explain their stupidity. And of course, we give them my phone number at the beginning of every show. We give them that opportunity. And how many has ever called in to defend the nuclear industry? None. Ever. Year after year. None. Not a single time. I'll put my number up there again for you. Hang on. You got to dial 1 in front of the number. 1. And just give me a second. I'll put the number up. So you got to dial 1-709-589-4406. 1-709-589-4406. 1709. I want to hear from the nuclear industry why all the documentation I'm showing you is wrong. Japan Times column is the public, possibly worldwide, gets sick over time. The truth will come out about Fukushima radioactive fallout. As the population worldwide gets sick because of a stupid, self-centered, greedy, sadistic, soulless, spineless, heartless industry. Greedy, disgusting, stupid. It's a stupid industry. They're actually stupid. But they're not so stupid that they won't call into the show because they don't have an argument to beat me with. I'm not claiming to be smart. I'm just claiming to have the documentations of the facts that I happen to know so well at this stage. I can handle any nuclear scientist on the planet that is trying to be deceptive or deceitful or dishonest. And I can expose them immediately for that deception. Fukushima is the most serious man-made disaster in human history. Obesity rates are double the Japan's average. That was in 2015. Excessive weight gain after a nuclear crisis is a marker of radiation brain damage. When you go to your supermarket now, 80% of the people are obese, and that's because they've been poisoned one way, either poisoned that way, poisoned with the radioactive food from the nuclear wasteland being shipped into their countries, or poisoned from eating the food from farms around nuclear power plants that are hemorrhaging radiation up those skinny stacks. They're for hemorrhaging radiation. The big ones are for water evaporation from cooling. The small ones are where they're hemorrhaging radiation from the fuel pools 24 hours a day. The fuel pools are still splitting the atom, which means that the atoms you would normally create to boil water for power a million homes, the numbers are in the Google. those atoms are still being split, but now there's no containment. They're released into the environment, and that's why nuclear power plants are surrounded by farms to move the radiation out of there and to poison you. And it's not an accident. It's design. That's what I mean. There's such a disgusting industry. There's such a despicable industry. There's such a soulless, spineless, stupid industry. They're actually a stupid industry. And we got proof they're a stupid industry. If you look at the poll, you can actually see how stupid the industry actually is. That 30% of 24 votes says that the nuclear industry should be saved from self-destruction. Because they're self-destructive. They don't just kill us, they kill all their friends and families and loved ones too. They're actually stupid. Pro-nuclear community, they're the typical inbreeds. Their parents worked for the nuclear industry. Their parents worked for the nuclear industry. Their parents worked for the nuclear industry. So the inbreeding of them, because they marry their own type in the industry, so then they have children. Their children are the entitled lot. They have children. Their children are the entitled lot. The current generation are literally the most incompetent people you'll ever meet. If you meet a pro-nuclear person, the first thing you'd go is like, what the hell was that? That person was a lunatic, totally disconnected from reality. And then to come here and spam my video, the arrogance, the hubris, pompous attitude to come here on a video. Like my videos, I only got 14 people watching my video. Look at that. But they come in and spam me, even though I only got 14 people on my show. They still come here and spam me in desperation because somebody's talking about the nuclear industry. Imagine how pathetic you got to be to come here and purposely from the nuclear industry to spam me. Imagine how pathetic that person actually is. The moral and ethical people want to see an end to this genocide, ecocide, and omnicide industry. That's the moral thing to do. We got to raise some money. I got to get DCA. I want to start treating myself because it wasn't just a kidney stone that they found. And so once I get the first bottle, eventually. Now, we also got a lot of things we got to accomplish in the next month. We're way behind schedule. And this operation can't survive without donations. We have a huge operation. I can't shut down this operation. I don't have a right to quit. And I can't fund this all by myself. And so at the bottom of my descriptions, there's 2 links. The very bottom is the only 2 ways you can donate to me. And at my website, I take virtually any card you can have. Google card, Apple cards, it don't matter. If you go to my website and put the card in, you can donate $10, $20, $30. It changes everything. Because every month for over a decade, I chew through my pension to keep funding this operation. And I can't keep doing that. I have to have money to cover my expenses. And right now, I have too many expenses to cover. So again, you can buy merchandise. The links are at the bottom of my site. You can buy shirts and hats and pants and sweatpants. You can buy mugs and backpacks. And I get a cut of that. Or you can donate the last 2 directly to me. All I can do is ask. And I don't know if the average person who's been around a while understands it. I'm not going away, period. I'm not stopping, period. And I'm not giving up, period. And unfortunately, I can't. The industry has endless funds thrown at them. I have to ask people, and I have very little people that will donate, so it's very difficult to keep this operation running. And I'm not a bad person for trying to do the moral and ethical thing, despite what the industry wants you to believe. Let me see. Yeah, DCAs for treating cancer. So these bottles of DCA go a long way, but I need to get quite a bit of it right away because I need to start treating what they just discovered in me. I don't really want to talk about it on the shows right now, but we will later on. But I'm not in good health for sure, right? And no doubt the industry's poisoned me. As you can see, my Geiger counter up there are extraordinary numbers. Yeah, and they didn't call in and challenge any of my assertions. The industry just spammed me. So let me say goodnight, good day to everybody. This is daytime for me for a change. It's a 1 hour show today. That's it for the show. Danny San, Neil Paisley, hi Neil, everybody that finds me later. Dana Nasana, hi Dana. Dana had kidney stones, but I also got other problems. So they want to take my right kidney out in August. I want to get DCA and avoid that, but I'm overloaded with expenses. We got the sites coming up for renewal. We got to renew the trailers and the boat tags this month. This month is running out. So I'm way in the hole at this stage. We just moved into a new place. I still haven't got all the equipment set up. And I shouldn't even be doing live shows, but we got no choice. The industry doesn't have any opposition. So James Lewis says no issues with the stream. That's great news. Dana Nasana says the stream is good. Don't jab the children. That's a great name for a site, by the way. Just a quick shout out. Richard McCann. Good night, everybody. Good day, everybody, because it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, my time. I'll see everybody on Sunday for the regular show. Looks like we're good to go. That's good news, because last night was very stressful to have the stream breaking up. And I just couldn't wait until Angel's Place, hi Angel's Place. I couldn't wait until Sunday to figure out whether the stream is going to work or not. So we done a stream today, which is Friday, the 17th. Hi Randy. Randy Mill, thank you. Thank you, Dana Nasana. So in the poll, we got spammed pretty heavy on the poll, which is unusual on this site. Should the nuclear industry be saved from self-destruction? Very, very genuine. I throw up whenever I got to do that. And I lose a lot. Darlene says it's beginning to buffer. It's showing good on my end, but that doesn't really mean nothing. Everybody else seems to be good. Richard says it's good. Thinker says he lost single. It's all good. Nothing I can do about it right at this stage. Well, I'll have a look at it after. Hopefully this video turned out better than the last video. Yeah, looks like I got everybody, did I? Good stuff. Okay, let's call it a day. See everybody on the Sunday show. Sunday we're going to cover Sunday we're going to cover the mass die-offs on both sides of the Atlantic for seabirds. We'll see everybody on the backside. Sorry about that. See everybody on Sunday. Have a great day, a great weekend. Hugs for everybody. We'll see everybody soon. Thomas Ackerman. Hi, Thomas. Hope you're doing good, man. Awesome to see you. God bless you, my friend. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day and a great weekend.